Alright, today we are going to replace the rotors and the brake pads on this E46. It's a 330xi 2001 BMW. Brakes front and rear, and let's get started. First thing is finding the lifting points on these cars. They're toward the outside of the body. It's subframe rear, subframe front, and unibody in between. So the lifting points have these little plastic blocks. Right here. And then there's also one to the rear. I'm not sure if you can see that. So first thing we're gonna do is jack it up. All right, we got her jacked up. Let's pop these. Looks like we might need some tie rods. The whole rack is a little loose. So I'm in here because under braking, the front wheels vibrate really bad. Assumed it was warped rotors, but it very well could be that loose steering rack in there too. But we have the brakes. Who knows when they were done, so we're gonna do them anyway. Yeah, there are a couple of high spots, a couple of hot spots. And there's a pretty good, there are a couple of high spots, a couple of where it looks like it may have overheated a little bit. And then there's quite a lip where it looks like the pads have been changed a couple times, but not the rotors. So it's a good thing that we have new rotors anyway. And we got some nice fancy ones, so that should be an improvement. While we have it off, we're just going to clean up this mating surface and just put a little anti-seize on there just so the rotor doesn't stick. Have the rotor off, we're going to clean up this surface here with my almost completely dead wire brush. And then we're going to put a little bit of anti-seize on this lip right here, just to keep the rotors from sticking to that. And we're also going to put a little anti-seize on this retaining bolt, because from what I hear, they like to get seized on there sometimes. It's way too much. Try and get some of that off. All right, there. That'll do her. Up there. Throwing this other lug bolt in here is going to help align this brake rotor. So when we tighten this down, it's properly aligned and we're not fighting it. You could throw a second one in there, but this down here is also tapered. That retaining stud is tapered, so it should center this bottom part on this one, and then this centers. And really you just need two to center, two tapered studs. We'll pull that one in there for good measure. Tighten this guy down. All right, and that should not go anywhere. We'll leave that top one in until we get the caliper reloaded with the new pads, just because we will be putting some force on this and I don't want it to move, relying on that single retaining bolt to keep it aligned. These outer pads were seized in there pretty good. So when we put it all back together, we're going to make sure that we use this ceramic extreme lubricant on all the touch points. It looks like we have a wear sensor in here. Lube these up real good with this gooey stuff. Need to get that hood popped open so we can get the cap to the reservoir open, so we can press these pistons back in to their homes so that we can load up the new pads and then get it to fit over the thicker rotors. So let's work on that next. able to salvage the brake pad sensor, little contact. Got it fixed, got it put in the new pad, and we're pretty much ready to mount the wheel up. Another thing we're installing here are these spacers. They're only 1 inch. While we have the brakes off, I was able to remove the shock, pull this assembly down, pull the spring out, and this gives us a chance to measure, because what I want to do is build an 1.5 inch lift, spacer lift for the front and the rear. I have one on order from Russia, but I purchased it almost a month ago and it just shipped yesterday. So in the event that I ever do another one of these, or if I get this done before that shows up, it's going in, and then I'll just hold on to the other lift for a future car or something. But I like to fabricate, so we're going to see about making some steel spacers for the suspension on this thing. I really just need to know the difference. It would be helpful if I push it down 1.5 inches to see the difference that it makes in this distance here where the spring sits, but I can figure that. I just need to know, if we drop this 1/2 inch or 1 inch, what does it add to this, and then I can just multiply from there to figure out how much lift I want and how much space I need back there. So we've got our baseline. Now we really just need to move this and make it stay. These parking brake shoes are shot. There is absolutely no meat left on them. They're down to whatever they're made out of, and they're starting to crack. So we called and ordered a new set, and they won't be delivered to the auto parts store for about an hour. So that gives us time to go screw around with the lift kit on the rear of this. But we definitely need to replace those today. There's no sense in putting this back together when I can have them in, you know, an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I can just finish this up tomorrow if I need to. But I have to get that lift on here anyway to fit the oversized tires. So it's gonna look sweet. All right, well, that pretty much wraps up the brake, rotor, and pad install on the BMW. These brakes were sourced on eBay. I've used similar kits from eBay before on other cars, and I haven't had a single issue with them. Those kits have been just as quality, if not more quality, than the retail chains offer, and for like half the price, if not even less. On this vehicle, we installed drilled and slotted rotors with ceramic pads for $134 to the front door, so you can't really beat that. And like I said, the quality is, I mean, it's not top quality stuff, but for your basic daily driver, not race car, they've been sufficient for me. I put them on a Ford Expedition I had, which is a big vehicle. I towed with it quite a bit. The brakes worked great. So this outro is being filmed a couple months after the install, so I can give you an update on the performance of the pads. They're holding up just as well as any pads that I've ever put on any vehicle or any vehicles ever come with, new, used, whatever. Vehicle stops extremely well. So it turns out also the shimmy in the steering wheel, which I took care of on the day that I shot the video, and you saw me kind of trying to figure out what the deal was. I mentioned it was a steering rack. It was. What had happened was the two nuts, so that steering rack has two nuts in the subframe, or two bolts that go through the steering rack into the subframe, and the nuts had removed themselves from the bolts, and the bolts, one of the bolts had backed itself out of the bracket or the tab that's on the subframe, and the other one was just hanging out in there, and really the only thing holding that steering rack on was the gravity holding that one bolt into that tab, because the rack sits on top of the tabs. So the bolt went through the rack and then into the tab, and gravity holding that bolt in, fortunately not hitting a big bump, is what kept that steering rack in that vehicle. Otherwise, it could have been catastrophic. But once I received the vehicle, I only drove it around once or twice, and I noticed the shimmy, and it was bad enough thinking that it was brake rotors that I decided not to drive it anymore until I got new brakes on it. And then that's when we discovered the steering rack issue. So since shooting this video and a couple other ones that I have, I've sold this car to my friend Ben. Ben's been featured on the channel a couple times in the past, and he'll probably be on here a couple more. Ben's got the Z06 Corvette that we did some work on and welding up the engine block in the bed of his pickup truck, trying to get some stuck bolts out. You can go see that video. It's on the channel page. And then more recently, we built a shifter for his Z06 that he drag races. So we got he put a power glide in it and yada, yada, yada. That'll be covered in the future video. But so Ben's been on the channel a couple times in the past. He'll be on more in the future, like I said. But I sold the BMW to him. Before I sold it to him, I built and installed the lift kit, some oversized 27-inch tires, and a few maintenance items, and then I fabbed up a tubular winch bumper for it. So go check those videos out on the channel page, and I'll probably put a link up here, or up there, or link wherever. I also have a custom roof rack in the works for this car. Just waiting until I get a couple other projects out of the way and I can get that BMW back here in the garage to finish out that roof rack. But there will be a video on that as well. And then one other big thing I want to do is I want to take this car to the mountains out here and just kind of see what it can do. I mean, performance-wise, we didn't really do anything other than the lift kit, the tires, and then the winch bumper. So maybe we'll get it stuck and make it pull itself out. But it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. It's a 330xi. So and since I sold it to him, we've gotten snow a couple times, and he's always bombing around in it through the snow and whatnot. But keep your eyes on the channel for those videos come in the future. So I want, like I said, I want to take it to the mountains and really get into it and see what it can do. So. And then go check out those other videos that I mentioned about the bumper and the lift. And you might as well hit subscribe to the channel if you're interested in this kind of stuff. We got a lot of stuff we're working on right now. I'm in the process of building a 20-foot gooseneck trailer, equipment trailer. So, you know, stuff like that all over the place. But hit that subscribe button and follow along. See if there's something that you're into. But thanks for following along and watching the video. Have a great day, and if you're into metal fabrication and you enjoy it, just keep doing it. It's puts me in my happy place. So take care. Have a good one.